All right, this is Unit 6, Day 2. We're going to talk about standard deviation and how to find it. Standard deviation is basically like it tells you how many units from the mean that your data normally is around. It's almost like finding the mean of the mean for each point that's in your data set. Okay, so the equation for standard deviation is remember sigma, we talked about this before, that's the sum of x minus x with a bar over it. That means the mean squared divided by n, which is the number of values in our data set. So just to break down what each part of that means, this little circle with a little line on top is called sigma. It's a Greek letter that represents standard deviation. So that's what we're finding today. This letter right here, the capital sigma, it represents the sum of the series of numbers. So that means we're going to find the sum of all of those numbers. And then x is just the value in our data set. And then the x with the bar over it is the mean of our data set. And then n is the number of values. So to find the standard deviation, first thing you need to do is find the mean. Okay, and right here this is an example that's already finished. Okay, this is your data set right here. Data set. Okay, so then they found that the mean was 15. Okay, so then they found the difference between our data and the value of the mean. So they're finding this little section right here, the x minus the mean right there. Okay, so they took their data point and then they subtracted the mean to get negative 2.4. And they did that with every single data point that they had. That's what you have to do. And then they took that point and then they squared it. So they took the actual squaring part. Letty, hush. And that's all those points. So then down here is where they added all those points up and divided by however many numbers we had, which was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they added all those numbers up and divided by 5. So that's everything that's underneath the square root part. That's what that number gives us. And then they took the square root of it to get 2.79. Okay? So we're going to be doing a couple of examples of those. So, for example, down here, we got our second data set. First thing we have to do is we need to find the mean. Okay, so we're using those points. Remember, to find the mean, we talked about that on day 1's unit. You add up all the points and divide by however many there are. So we're going to add 13.4 plus 11.7 plus 18.3 plus 14.8 plus 14.3. I'm going to add all those up. And then we divide by however many points I have. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 divided by 5. And that gives me 14.5. So that is my mean here, 14.5. So all of these numbers here are 14.5. So what we're going to do with each one of those points is we're going to subtract our mean from it. So we're going to 13.4 minus 14.5, 11.7 minus 14.5, and so on to get our x minus our mean right there. Okay? So 13.4 minus 14.5 gives me negative 1.1. 11.7 minus 14.5 gives me negative 2.8. 18.3 minus 14.5 gives me 3.8. 14.8 minus 14.5 gives me 0.3. And 14.3 minus 14.5 gives me negative 0.2. So we're going to take all of those numbers and square it in our last column over here. So negative 1.1, make sure you always put in parentheses, negative 1.1 squared gives me 1.21. All of these numbers in here, because remember when you square something, it gives you a positive number. So if you get a negative number, you did something wrong. So everything in this column should be positive. So we have negative 2.8 squared gives me 7.84. 3.8 squared gives me 14.44. 0.3 squared gives me 0.09. And then negative 0.2 squared gives me 0.04. So then in this next column, or in this next box right here, we're going to add all of those up and divide by our n value, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because we have 5 terms, so we're going to divide by 5. So we're going to add up all those numbers. 1.21 plus 7.84 plus 14.44 plus 0.09 plus 0.04 divided by 5 gives me 4.724. Okay, so basically what this table is doing is taking this equation up here and breaking it down piece by piece. So we're taking each point and subtracting the mean, and then we're adding them all up. So that is the top part, and then dividing by n is this part right here. And then the bottom part is where you take the square root at the very end. So we're going to take the square root of 4.724. And that gives me 2.173. And just like we've been doing, we're going to use about 3 decimal places for our standard deviation. So 2.173 is our standard deviation. That means that all of my points are about 2.173 units away from my mean. Okay, so this right here just asks us which data set has the greater standard deviation. This one has 2.173, this one has 2.79, so that means data set 1 has the greater standard deviation, okay? So down here it says the set with a larger standard deviation has more spread out range of values, okay? So the larger the standard deviation, the more spread my points are, versus the smaller the standard deviation, the closer my points are. They're not as spread out to each other. Okay? So then we're going to move on to the next example. So we got 2 data sets here, and we're going to fill out the table. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this one. We'll do the first data set. So here I'm just listing all my x values. So 4, 8, 5, 12, 3, 9, 5, and 2. Okay, so then this column we need to find the mean. So we're going to find the mean here. 4 plus 8 plus 5 plus 12 plus 3 plus 9 plus 5 plus 2. So I'm just adding up all my points, and I'm going to divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, because that's how many points I have. And that gives me 6. So my mean here is 6. Okay, so that means we're going to take all of our x values and we're going to subtract our mean from it. So 4 minus 6 gives me negative 2. 8 minus 6 gives me 2. 5 minus 6 gives me negative 1. 12 minus 6 is 6. 3 minus 6 is negative 3. 9 minus 6 is 3. 5 minus 6 again is negative 1. And then 2 minus 6 is negative 4. Okay, and if you're not 100% comfortable doing that in your head, that's fine. Just type it in the calculator. I just did those real quick in my head because this is going to take a little bit. Okay, then we're going to square it. So negative 2 squared gives me 4. 2 squared gives me 4. Negative 1 squared is 1. 6 squared is 36. Negative 3 squared is 9. 3 squared is also 9. Negative 1 squared is 1. And negative 4 squared is 16. Okay, so all I did was take this column and I squared it to get this portion. Now we're going to add them all up. So 4 plus 4 plus 1 plus 36 plus 9 plus 9 plus 1 plus 16. And we're going to divide by however many numbers I have. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Which gives us that is 8 right there. Okay. Oop, 80 divided by 8. Gives us 10. Sorry, my bad. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep. Okay. And then when you just take the square root of 10 to give you 3.162. So that's our standard deviation. That basically means that all my points are about 3.162 units away from my mean. Okay. So then we're going to find the standard deviation of our second data set. So I'm going to scooch this over here a little bit. So my second data set is 5, 9, 11, 4, 6, 11, 2, and 7. Okay, and again, we're going to find the mean of all of that. So 5 plus 9 plus 11 plus 4 plus 6 plus 11 plus 2 plus 7 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So remember, the mean is adding it all up and divided by however many numbers you have, and we have 6.875. So that means all of our mean down this whole entire column is 6.875. All right. And then we're going to subtract. Now, some people tend to be like, okay, well, why don't you just subtract and then square it? That's fine too. I'm going to show you the other way that you can do that. You can just go ahead and do 5 minus 6.875, and that's negative 1.875, and then you can just hit squared, and that'll give you your answer too, 3.516. Okay, and then keep on doing the same thing with the next column. So 9 minus 6.875 gives me 2.125, and then square it gives me 4.516. And of course, you could always just skip this whole column and go straight to doing 11 minus 6.875 and then square that, and it'll still give you the correct answer, which is 17.016. And again, I'm continuously using 3 decimal places the whole entire time, just like we've done in the past. Okay, just to keep filling out our table, let me go back. 11 minus 6.875. Okay. Then we got 4 minus 6.875. That gives me negative 2.875. And then we square it. So that gives me 8.266. Then we go to our next row. 6 minus 6.875. And then square it. And that gives me 0.766. All right, and then we do the next column, which the next column we've already done 11, so all I have to do is copy it down. 4.125 and 17.016. Okay, and then number the 2 minus 6.875 gives me negative 4.875, and then square it gives me 23.766. And then 7 minus 6.875. Oops, I did that wrong. Squared. That gives me 0.016. Ooh, goodness. All right. Then the next part is to add these all up and divide by however many numbers we have, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we're going to add them all up. 3.516 plus 4.516 plus 17.016 plus 8.266 plus 0.766 plus 17.016 plus 23.766 plus 0.016. And then divide by 8, which gives us 9.36, or 9 because the 7 is going to tell the 9 to round up, which will make that round up to a 6. So 9.36. And then the very last thing is to square root that. 9.36 to give us 3.059. Okay, and so then the last part asks us to say which one has the greater standard deviation, which would be data set 1, because 3.162 is greater than 3.059. So data set 1 has the greater standard deviation. Okay. So then we're going to do the next example. Okay, we're just getting a lot of practice in on how to do these. So the next example, our points are 102, 98, 103, 86, 101, and 110. Okay, so we're going to add all those up and find the mean. So we got 102 plus 98 plus 103 plus 86, Letty, shh, plus 110. And then we'll divide. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms. So we're going to divide by 6. So that means my mean is 100. All right, so I'm going to take all those points and subtract. So 102 minus 100 is 2. And so that square is going to give me 4. 98 minus 100 is negative 2. And so that square will also give me 4. 103 minus 100 is 3. And 3 squared is 9. 86 minus 100 is negative 14. And negative 14 squared is positive 196. 101 minus 100 gives me 1, and 1 squared is 1. 110 minus 100 gives me 10, and 10 squared is 100. Okay, so I filled out all those columns, and again I'm going to add them all up. 4 plus 4 plus 9 plus 196 plus 1 plus 100. And we're going to divide by 6, because that's how many terms we have, which gives me 52.333 repeating. And again, we'll take the square root of that to give us 7.234. So my standard deviation tells me that all my points are about an average of 7.234 points away from the mean. Okay. So then I'm going to move over to data set 2. So we've got 90, 89, 100, 97, 102, 97. We need to find the mean again. So we're going to add them all up. 90 plus 89 plus 100 plus 97 plus 102 plus 97. Divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 terms gives me 95.833 repeating. And some of your answers might be a little bit off from mine, just based off of how you round. But if you're rounding to the third decimal place like I am, then you should still have the same answers regardless. Okay, so then again, we're going to subtract. So 90 minus 95.833 gives me negative 5.833. And then we're going to square it to give us 34.024. And then we'll do the same thing with the rest of those numbers. 89 minus 95.833 gives me negative 6.833. And again, we're going to square it to give me 46.69. Because the 8 tells the 9 to round up, which means that's going to move my 8 up to a 9. Okay, and then we'll do 100 minus 95.833. to give us 4.167. And then we square it to give us 17.364. And then 97 minus 95.833 gives me 1.167, and then squaring it gives me 1.167. 1.362. And then 102 minus 95.833 gives me 6.167. And then squaring it, it's going to give me 38.032. And then my last one, 97, we've already done before, so I just have to write that down again. And so again, we've got all of our x minus the mean squared, so then we're going to find pretty much the mean of that is what we're doing here when we go to this next one. So 34.024 plus 46.69 plus 17.364 plus 1.362 plus 38.032 plus 1.362, and then we're going to divide by 6 terms to give me 23.139. And then again, we square root it to get our final answer for our standard deviation. Oops. 23.139 gives me 4.810, or just 4.81. And again, we want to know which one has the greater standard deviation. That would be data set 1. Because that one's got 7.234, that one's got 4.81. So again, the 4.81 just tells me that all my points are an average about 4.81 units away from where my mean is in the data set. All right, so then I'm going to flip over to the next page. I got one more data set to do, and then we'll be moving on to our classwork. Okay, so here we're going to list our data points again. So we've got 32, 40, 35, 28, 42, 32, and 44. Okay, so we're going to find the mean again. So 32 plus 40 plus 35 plus 28 plus 42 plus 32 plus 44 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 terms there. Oops. 253 divided by 7 gives me 36.143, because the 8 tells us to round up to a 3. So 36.143. That is our mean that we're going to be subtracting there. All right, so we're going to subtract all of our x values. So 32 minus 36.143 gives me negative 4.143, and then we're going to square it to give me 17.164. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with the rest of our columns. So 40 minus 36.143, and then square it. So 14.876. Okay, then we'll do the next one, 35 minus 36.143. That gives me negative 1.143, and then square it to give me 1.306. Okay. And then number 28. 28 minus 36.143 gives me negative 8.143, and then we square it to give us 66.308, and then 42 minus 36.143, and then square it to give us 5.857 here and 34.04 there. Okay, And then our next one, number 32, which we've already done at the very beginning, so all I have to do is rewrite those down. So negative 4.143, 17.164, and then 44 minus 36.143 gives me 7.857, and again we're going to square it to give us 61.732. Okay, so we got those 4 columns filled out. So then the next thing is to add them all up and divide by our number of terms. So we're going to add them up and divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. .876 plus 1.306 plus 66.308 plus 34.04 plus 17.164 plus 61.732 divided by 7. Let's see, did I type anything in there wrong? I'm going to type it just one more time because my answer key is different. Plus 14.876 plus 1.306 plus 66.308 plus, oh wait, my 34 is supposed to be 0.304. My bad. Plus 17.164 plus 61.732 divided by 7 gives us 30. There we go. Now I got the same answer. 30.408. And again, we square root that. Gives us 5.514. That is our standard deviation. That's how all of my points are an average of 5.514 units away from my mean. Okay? So then we're going to do our last example here. We've got 40, 38, 51, 39, 46, 40, and 52. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, just like we've been doing, is find our mean. So 40 plus 38 plus 51 plus 39 plus 46 plus 40 plus 52 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 gives me 43.714. Did I do that right? 51, 39, 46, 40, and 52. Yep, I just did it wrong on my paper. Okay, so that gives me 43.714. So we're going to list that out on all of my column. And again, we're going to subtract and square it. So 40 minus 43.714 gives me negative 3.714. And then we'll square it to give me 13.794. Okay. And then we'll do the next row, 38 minus 43.714. And then square that. Gives me 32.64, nope, 65. Because the 7 tells the 9 to round up, which is going to make the 4 go to a 5. Okay. 51 minus 43.714. Gives me 7.286 squared, gives me 53.086. And this next column is negative 4.714. And then we square it to give us 22.222. All right. And then we do 46 minus 43.714. And then we square it. So that gives me 2.286 squared gives me 5.226. And then 40 minus 43.714 gives me negative 3.714, which I actually did up here at the top. And so that gives me 13.794 when I square it. And then my last one, 52 minus 43.714, gives me 8.286. And then we square it to give us 68.658. All right, so we'll add them all up again. Again, we're taking this last column and adding them all up. So 13.794 plus 32.65 plus 53.086 plus 22.222 plus 5.226 plus 13.794 plus 68.658. And then divide it by our number of terms, which is 7. So that gives me 29.919. And then we square root it. Gives us 5.6, let's see, 5.47, sorry, 5.47, because the 8 tells the 9 to round up, and again, that's going to make the 6 turn into a 7, so 5.47. So again, our greater standard deviation is number 1, because we're all the way up at 5.514, and this one is at 5.47, so that one's got our larger standard deviation. Okay, remember standard deviation is the average of our points is about that many units away from our mean. Okay, so that was your notes. That was the Unit 6 Day 2 notes. Just to go over the classwork real quick, just as a review, remember the mean is when you add all the numbers and then you divide by the number of terms. Okay, your median, remember that's the point in the middle. Remember to find the median, you also have to remember to list them from least to greatest before you find the median. Okay, your mode is the number that occurs the most. And then your range is your largest number minus your smallest number. Okay. So for example, if we have a list of numbers, to find the mean, median, and mode. That's what this first 8, I'm going through 5 through 9 or 1 through 9 with you, and then I'll leave you alone to do the rest, okay? So first we're going to find the mean. So again, remember the mean, you add up all your points and divide by however many numbers there are. So 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 7 plus 8 plus 10 plus 11 plus 11 plus 13 plus 15 plus 17 plus 18. And we divide by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 to give us that our mean is 10. Okay, our median is where we find the number in the middle, so we cross out. And notice that these are already in smallest to largest, so we're good there. So I can go ahead and start crossing numbers out. Now here I have 10 and 11 left in the middle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So that's when you add your two numbers, 10 plus 11 divided by 2. And 10 plus 11 gives you 21, and 21 divided by 2 gives you 10.5. So your median here is 10.5. And then your mode is the number that occurs the most. So 11 happens twice, so that's my mode. And then my range is when I take my largest number and subtract my smallest number. So 18 minus 2 to give us 16. All right. Now, while these values do tell us a lot about the list, it does not tell us how much about how far the numbers are from each other. So to do this, we need to calculate the standard deviation. So we want to find the standard deviation here. Now notice I'm not given a whole lot of space here, okay? So I'm going to use the same data set and I'm going to show you a calculator trick, and you're going to probably hate me for this, but I had to show you where everything comes from first. So just like I always do. So to find our standard deviation when you're not given when you're given a calculator. Now, some of you don't have these calculators at home, so you're going to have to unfortunately do these by hand. But if you have a calculator, you can do this. Now, I think TI-84, if you Google it on your computer, they're doing a 90-day or a 30-day trial, so you can use the calculator for free with the online on your computer. So that's one way to use it. So here, to do this, what you're going to do is you're going to hit Stat, and you're going to hit Edit. Okay, Stat Edit. And just like before, if you got some data points already in your list, just hit Clear, Enter. Okay. Now, if you're missing an L1, you're going to need to reset your calculator. Okay, so make sure you have that L1 there. We type in all of our numbers in our list. So 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 18. Okay. 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 10, 11, 13, 15, 17, and 18. Okay. Once you have your points in there, now make sure you always type it in correctly. You hit Stat, go over to Calc. So go over to Calc. Now you see the one variable stats. Just hit Enter. And if you had this stuff pop up, just hit Enter again until this stuff shows up. Now, notice X bar. That gives us our mean. Boom. Already given it to us. So this is just kind of reiterating what we did. So our mean, that tells us that. So that gives us our mean. Okay. This little, my sigma x, that's our standard deviation. So without even having to do all that adding and subtract and finding our mean and then subtracting and then squaring and then adding all up and dividing again and then square rooting, the calculator does it for us. So that means my standard deviation is 5. Okay, if you scroll down some, now notice the end, that tells you how many terms you have. Your median, MED, okay, that's your median, so 10.5. Now, your range, it doesn't outright say the range, but if you look on your sheet of paper, that means it's the max x minus your min x. So your max x, if you scroll up, is 18, or scroll down, I mean, 18. And then you just subtract your min x, which is up here, to be 2, which gives us 16. So if you got a calculator, great. You can do it easy peasy. This shouldn't take you but maybe 10 minutes to get the worksheet done. Unfortunately, if you have it, don't have a calculator at home, then you're going to have to do this by hand. I'm sorry, but at least you get plenty of practice. I didn't give you a whole lot of questions to do. Like I said, look up TI-84 online or computer version, and I think there's a way for you to download it and have a free version for 90 days because they're doing this because they know that you guys don't have calculators at home. So you're going to do all that, and number 11 says, what does the standard deviation mean in this case? Remember, standard deviation means that the numbers in my list are an average of 5 units, because that's my standard deviation, 5 units from the mean, or from 10, because that's what our mean is. Okay, so then for the rest, that's what you're doing. You're finding what your mean, median, standard deviation and ranges, and you're telling me what that standard deviation means. Okay, and then yeah, That's all you have to do there. Okay, and then we'll move on to day 3 video. Okay, I'll see you guys later. I miss you so much. Let me know if you have any questions. Bye.